So last year, 2025, Bubble made it official. We now are able to build mobile applications on Bubble. Of course, every new thing comes with a few new knowledge, a few learning curve, and all that. So I've spent a few weeks or months looking into the mobile application, building application on it, and so now I want to share a bunch of things I've learned. So basically, what I'll do in this video is to get you started on building mobile applications with Bubble, making it very easy for you. I'll be squeezing in everything you need to know in this one video. It is a crash course, so everything you really need to know in order for you to get started and build application. That's what we'll be doing in this video. So the first thing we'll be doing is we'll be covering the documentation so that you know where to get what. So as you go through the documentation, you get to see from beginning how you can create an application, what views are, lists, sheets, image authentication, forms, tags, modal. These are things we'll actually cover at the end of this course. So if you followed through the practical course that I'll be developing in a bit, here is the curriculum for the app we are going to be building. So it is fully stacked. So we'll be covering all these things. So let me check this off because we've done it. And so the next thing I want us to do, which is actually the first thing, actually is the documentation walkthrough. So what I just want you to do is to see where you can get what. So for you to get started on building out here, you just need to go down, so rather go up, come to design here, come to element, and then come to iOS. So here on iOS and Android app, actually, you get basically everything you need to understand for building mobile application. Now, there are some functionalities that kind of are interwoven for both web and mobile. So you have the access to the whole application, to the whole documentation for Bubble. So anything you really need, you get it here. But here is specific for mobile application. So for example, there is views. So we have a few views that is very important that you know, and we'll be covering them eventually. As you will see here in the documentation, it will be compared with Spotify application so that you see how these things actually happen. So have the tab view, the stack view, the mobile view. There is the navigation, the way you move between views. There is a container, the visual element, the input forms, mobile reusable, and all those good stuff. So anything you want to know about mobile, just come down to design, go to elements, and you check out the iOS and Android app. That's what you really need to know. Now, if you're totally new to Bubble, I have already created videos for beginners on Bubble. So this course we are creating now is specific for people who are just starting out, maybe as new Bubble developers but want to focus on iOS. So if you're starting as a new Bubble developer, and you need some basics, maybe you want a more in-depth dive into the Bubble documentation, please check out my previous videos. I'll try to include them here in the description. All right, so that is it for a documentation walkthrough. Now we'll be doing the editor walkthrough, but of course the first thing we need to do to get to the editor is to navigate to the Bubble homepage. Now if you've created an account, you've logged in, this is where you should be at this moment. Now it's either you are on this list view or you are on this grid view, whichever way it shows, it doesn't matter. So we'll create a new project and we say mobile. We're creating a task manager. So task manager, and you have the option to choose between creating a web application or a mobile application. Of course, we are choosing mobile application because that's what we want to do. I have videos on web application already, so you can check it out. And we're starting with a blank app. You could check out the AI one on your own. I think I'll make more videos on creating with AI. So let's get started. And of course, you could start with the basic feature which are free. You could choose to activate the free trial also. So I'll just start with the basic feature, and this will bootstrap an application for us with a blank page where we'll get started and see how everything works from beginning. So just give it a second and it should be downloading in a bit. All right, so we are here, and here we have the home page, which is the home view. Now to get to where I just left, now we'll click on this home at the top here. It gives us a drop down. Now if you were on the web, it will show you pages. But for mobile, we deal with views because technically we see everything as being on the same surface, just different views moving here and there. So under the view, we have the home, which is the root, and then we can create more and more views. All right. So the first thing, let me walk you through. Let me walk you through the editor. Of course, like I said, I already have a similar video when we're starting out in the web, so you could check that out in case you feel like this is not in depth enough. But I think this should work. So the first thing you have here is being able to switch between the mobile application and the web application editor. So we are here on the mobile app, and that's what we're doing. This is where you see all your views and your reusable, and you could choose to go back. For here, you will see every element on this page. So you could choose to search from here, and this is where you zoom in or zoom out. This next search is a bit advanced, but basically use it to search through your application. Now, of course, you could make it a bit more specific by saying only search this current page, but it's more in depth than this other search. So if you're trying to search through all your application, this is the best thing to use. And then you have two buttons here which are none because we've not started working on anything. So this the previous changes, and this the next changes, something like that. This way you see issues that you have. So if you have a bug, it's going to show here immediately. Click on this play button to test out what you're doing. So once we click on it, it shows a preview of what we're doing. Of course, our page is blank, so nothing will really show here. We just see more like the boilerplate of what our application is supposed to look like, and this is for deployment. So because this is not a paid version, it's going to ask you to upgrade in order for you to deploy. Now, aside from this, let's go to the sidebar. Of course, the first icon here is design, which is where we are basically use here to lay out your designs before you start adding functionalities. Now, talking about functionalities in the workflow, that's where you see your functionality. When you maybe add something, say like a button here, and you click to add workflow, it moves you to the next icon, which is the workflow. And then we have the backend workflow, which is mostly cloud related. So when you want to do something that would take a lot of time and would be asynchronous, kind of use the backend workflow. Then for the data, this is everything concerning the database. So here we'll have the data types. This way you define the different data types or different storage that you want to use, kind of. Here is for privacy rule. It helps you to handle security. In case you are new to this, I have a video on security, so you can check that out too. Here is where you see what's actually saved in your different data types. For option sets, you can take this tutorial, skip it, but these are mostly web-based storage so that you don't have to interact with database, which is more expensive. And here for the file manager, anything you upload as a file, whether photo, PDF, whatsoever, is going to come here. Here we have the styling, where we have the element style and the style variables. Basically for saving styles, for you to be able to reuse style, this is the best place to handle that. Then we have plugins. Basically you come add plugins here. You can search what you need. Uncheck web, so that whatsoever you'll be seeing would be only for mobile. So for example, this is the API connector. We will not be using this. Just to show you what plugin looks like, you can just click on install and installs it for you, and then you can do your manipulations here. All right, then here in the settings, we'll come back here to do a bit of setting as we progress. I don't want to do this setting currently so that it will be easy for you to remember when you ever need it, but here's where you set up everything. For example, here in the general, you could make this app public so everyone can edit or everyone can view, something like that, and many other things you can check out. Then here in the logs, you see how your application is behaving, certain feedbacks, and all those good stuff. So this is what you really need to know about the editor as you're starting out. So now that we've gotten this out of the way, it is now time for us to jump right in and see what we are going to be building. So we're going to be building a task manager, as the name suggests. I'm removing that button. So I'll be showing you a preview. After the preview, we'll jump right in and start building out that task manager. That task manager is going to take us through the most important and basic things of this mobile application editor that we are going to build in. So I'm talking about views, I'm talking about stacks and modal, I'm talking about forms, I'm talking about picture, images, camera, how to get permission. I'm talking about the trailing options that comes with lists, and difference between the lists and the repeating group, stuff like that. So that's it. So let me show you the preview. All right, so this is what we will be building. So this is the home page. It says never been error. So basically what we're building is a task manager with to-do list, basically, but with authentication and all those good stuff, so that you get to the basics of Bubble mobile application. So you click on this start planning and it takes you to a login screen and you can sign in. Of course, you can create an account. So let me do the create account first. So let's try something like this, and something like that. And then let's change the email that we have here to some like this. And then let's do password 1 2 3 4 5 6 like that, and then create the account. So once you create the account, it should log you inside like this, and you should be logged in. But I want to make sure you see the login. So let me go and log out. We'll come back to see some of this other place. So here's now the login. So let's try login in gmail.com, and then let's do our password. So 1 2 3 4 5 6 like that, and let's try logging in. So we are logged in, like would have been if we just signed in. And here you can click on the add tax and then put the tax title. So could say work day, stuff like that. Pick the day you want. So it may not be that day, maybe next day or stuff like that. So just pick the day. So we could pick 3rd like this, confirm. You could choose to add a description whatsoever, working today, something like that. All right, and just return, and then you submit. So once you submit, you should check the date. So notice that it is here on the 3rd of January. So we could choose to say, hey, we have attended to this. So click on it and say yes, it becomes completed. Or we could choose to make edits of this and say work day edited. Editing, that's fine. All right, just submit that, and we see that the edit has worked. And then we could choose to say delete. So you could drag it to the end and it pops up for you like this, and you say yes, delete this, and you see it's gone. Now what else do we have here? We also have the logout, which we have already done here, and then we have the update info. So if you click on the update info, you could change a photo. So if you click on take a photo, it opens up your camera like this, and you could cancel this, and you could choose a photo from your library too. So you could just pick this, and then it should show you a preview in a bit. All right, so good. So that's shown the preview. So what I didn't put here, which I'm sure we're not covering, is maybe loading. You can change this the way you want, so bio could just put software engineer. All right, and then you submit this. So as soon as you submit this, it returns to here. So if you check in your info, you should see the updates you have made. I could also choose to change this so that it's even more obvious. So we could remove this one, and instead of this, we could put Njoko like that. Return, submit, and then hey, Njoko. So something like that. We also choose to change credential, like change the password from what it was, or change the email address. We'll see how all this comes to play, and as we progress, you also see the main things that had to go under the hood for this to happen. For example, you will notice the slides and how this list, each one has the option whereby after a slide, you could change from pending to completed depending on you. You would also notice that some pages open on top of the other page, like this one, and you could just pull it down, and while other pages do not open like that, like the add tags just seems to open like a new page. I'll explain all this as we progress. In fact, you need a back button to move back when it is not stacked on each other. So a lot of things we'll cover in this particular video if we pay rapt attention. And you also notice that I'm testing this on my mobile application, sorry, on my mobile phone. I'll also show you how you can be able to test on your mobile device, iPhone specifically, because I'm using an iPhone. I don't have an Android here to show you, but I'll show you where to get the directions. So that is it. Let's jump right in and see what we'll build. All right, so welcome back from that preview. You've seen what we'll be building. So let's get started, and let's build out what the homepage will look like. As we build out the homepage, we'll see the different views that we'll have, and get used to them. All right. So what we'll do, let's just get let's get an image. So let me say busy person rather. Just want that image. So think this image works. I'll just open this in a new tab like that, so that I'll have access to the link. All right, so we'll copy this link, and then the first thing I want to put on the screen is text, and say never. Let's say never be overwhelmed. I'll spell that correctly. All right. And then the next thing would be an image. So drag it and put it up here. We'll paste the link to the image we copied, and then want to make sure that we uncheck this keep element aspect ratio fixed, so that it doesn't take up extra spaces. All right. And then for the bottom here, we'll put in a button, and the button will read start planning. All right, great. So let's come back and work on this text a little bit, so we can make it heading 3. Let's bring it down a little bit, heading 4, so that works fine. And then let's center align it and make sure that it takes up full width, and that works for me. So now let's understand the different views from this point or this perspective. So when we come down here in the appearance, it shows view type, and when we open it, it shows the scrollable view, there's non-scrollable view, and there's a vertical list which gives us a list, then there is section list. All right, now we'll see section list on the course of this, but let's go back to the scrollable view. So here for the scrollable view, as the name implies, it's for a page that will scroll for a long time, or scroll down. It has so many content which you cannot define. But for a page that you can define the content, it's best to use a not scrollable view, which is what we need for this page, because it's just the home page. So we'll put a not scrollable view, and that gives us option to restack or arrange our content. So for example, we could say, hey, I want this to spread out using the space between option here. We could also say we want everything to stack downwards, so we put this one, which is bottom align, and so everything comes down. You could put everything in the middle, put everything to the top, but what we want is this one that is spaced around, so that we'll have a sizable amount of space at the top and also at the bottom. All right, now we now understand the difference between the views, different kind of views. Now let's make a second page which we are supposed to navigate to. So the other page you're supposed to navigate to will be the authentication page. Recall that what we are doing is just a task manager, but we want to be able to exhaust as many things as possible that concerns Bubble mobile application. So let's jump right in and make the next page. So also recall that we are in mobile, and because we are in mobile, it is no longer pages but views. So whenever I say page, always know that I'm talking about views. So we are creating a new view called auth or authentication, and this will be scrollable because we want it to scroll. Of course, we don't want to stack things in different places. Okay, and so let's create this, and this will be created, and then we'll start making arrangements here on the page. So the first thing we want to put in is a huge text. So that huge text would be authentication. The styling I want to add for it would be H1. The H1 seems to be too big. Let's make it a H3. I think that's better, but let's center align it and make sure that we uncheck the fits width to content. Then of course we want to add some level of padding at the top, so we'll give it 50 and give another 50 at the bottom there. So that gets it started for us. Now the next thing we want to do is to pull in a group. So pull in a group like this, and then we'll say this will be group form like that, and then inside of it we want to have some title inside here, and so the title will be login like that. All right, eventually we'll come and work on this a little bit more, so we'll just increase the boldness a little bit, and of course we want to uncheck this and then make sure it is center aligned like that. Then I want to drag in a second group, so let's drag in a second group. Now this would contain the inputs. Now notice that we keep dragging groups. Groups are basically used to, of course, group things, but it helps us make things arranged and in different sections. So you will notice an example in what I'm doing now. Let's drag in a text. So we want to make an input, and this will be input of name. So let's say name, and then we'll not drag the actual input, because what we dragged initially was just the text. All right, and this will be input name like that. Great. Now we want to make sure that this text and this input will always be together, so that whatever is happening, both of them will be handled as a group. So for that reason, we need to also make it a group. So we want to group it in a column container. Now, of course, you can choose to change it to whatsoever. For example, you could change it to a row container, which will stack them by the side, or you can make it fixed, which would make it skewed. But what we'll prefer would be column for this design, right? And then for this, we want to uncheck this fit width. All right. So we don't want it to fit with the content. In fact, we want it to take up all the width like that. Same thing for this one. We want to uncheck this, and then the height is good for 44 like that. All right. So we now say this is group name like so. So now we can now say, okay, let's duplicate this, and we have an email copy of it. So we change this to group email like that, and inside of the group email, put email like this, and then that changes it, but needs to be changed here too. So let's put email like that, email here too. Great. So the other one we want to put will be password, because we'll be needing a password. So copy and paste like this, and so instead of email, we are now putting password like that. And let's go down in here and put password. So we can just copy this and paste it accordingly like this, paste. Same thing for the inputs, paste like that. Let's also add it to the placeholder. So let me paste it here, and then let's do same thing for the email. So let's change the placeholder here, put email, and then for the name, we want to put name. And something else that's very important is the input type. We need to choose the right input type so that there is no mistake in putting in an input. So we will not want a user who is supposed to pass in a password to pass in a normal text. That will not make sense for security. So for name, text is fine. But for email, we need this to be email, right? For password, we need the content format to be password. And because we want all of this input to be entered before submission, we want to make sure that this input should not be empty like that. All right, great. Now, another important thing that I want to do is to have proper spacing between them. So what we can do is to come to the input here and add a spacing of 10 like this. Just add a little of spacing, and let's have a bit of spacing between the text and the inputs. And so we check here and say, hey, let's add it to be 20 like that. So just seeing a lot of things that you can do with the many options that you have here. And the final thing we want to add to the screen, or not the final thing, we'll add one more thing, by the way. It's the button. So this will be button login. Now I'll come back to make a bunch of changes to some of these things eventually when we start working on authentication. And by the way, if you want an advanced authentication, you should please check out my previous tutorial on advanced authentication. All right, let's make sure that it is last on this stack, make last like that, and that works just fine for us. The last thing we want to add before we do testing would be a small text here. Let's keep it for 14 like this, and then let's also italicize it, or we can leave the italicized and just change the color to blue, and then we can put it as create account, or we leave it as login for now. We'll eventually come and work on this. So let's make sure that we uncheck this fit with content and then centralize that. So we'll come back eventually to work on all of this, but for now let's preview it. So to preview, you can just click on this play button and it would pop it up for us here on the screen, as you can see. All right, so we can add a bit of an offset to this page. So we'll go to the page here, go to the padding, and by the left and the right we can say let's add an offset of 20 like that, so that it moves away from the side. All right, so this is how you test on the computer. But we know let's go back and check. I think we didn't complete that. Okay, so let's go back here in the group, make sure that the group is properly fixed. All right, so the problem is we had a fixed width for all this, so let's make sure we undo the fixed width. All right, and we can just put a 10 here. Great, so that it doesn't fall out of the page. So let's do a refresh for this, and so everything falls in just as it should be. So for this bottom text, we can make it a 14 if it's not 14. Actually it should be 12. Let's make it a 12. So let's reduce the size here to 12. All right, so now that we have gotten this far, let's now see how we should actually test this on our mobile device. Okay, so for that we need to go to Bubble documentation. So we'll go to manual Bubble, and then want to navigate to the previewing app down here and see previewing mobile app. All right, so I will do this on the phone and show you how to test this out on your mobile device, so that you have a feel of what your user will feel when they are using your applications. All right, go to the menu as I've shown you. I'm now on my phone. Go to publishing, no, previewing the app. So previewing rather. So go to previewing and go to previewing mobile app. I'll go down. So click on this link for iOS. So it navigates us to where we see the testflight.apple.com, and then let's go get test flight. So we want to install test flight. So let's install that. Great. And let's open up test flight. Allow. Let's continue. Now inside of here it shows you the Bubble Go app. So install it. All right, so now you can click on it and open Bubble Go. I'll click next, start testing. So sometimes it takes a while. So let's log in into our Bubble app, Bubble account rather. So I'm logging in with my Google account and picking continue. And this should sign us into Bubble, and then we'll be able to test our application. All right. So you notice that the last app I created was the mobile task manager. All right, so you can click on it and it will show you something like select branch and all that. Don't bother. It should be showing you this test branch. Click on it. All right, and now it shows you the application we've been building. Right now, notice we didn't add some offset to this home page, but that's fine. So this is what your phone should the application should look like in your phone. So once you click on start planning, it should navigate you to the other page, but we've not connected it. However, this is how you preview. So now that we've seen how to preview, subsequent preview I'll be doing will be on my phone. All right, so now we've gotten that out of the way, so let's go back to actually building out and showing how to navigate from one page to the other. So now that we've seen how exactly we can test our application and get a real life feel of what our users would experience when using our application, let's go back to building. So the first thing we want to do is to show how we can navigate from one page to the other, and then I'll show you the difference between a stack and a modal as I do this. So let's go back to our home. All right, and one thing we notice here is that there was no offset, so it made everything to stack to the side. So because of that, we just add an offset of say like 2020. That's fine. It doesn't really matter. All right, and then let's go back to the button, click on the button and go back to the appearance here and add workflow. So what we want to do is to go to the navigation and go to view. So if it was on the mobile, it would say go to page, but here says go to view. So when we click on view, it shows you two options to the navigation type. Either you are doing a stack or you are doing a modal. Now, how do they differ? For the stack, when you use a stack, it stacks a page on the other page, or it replaces a page with another page. However, when a page is stacked on the other page, you can move back to the other page if you do not check reset navigation stack. Now, the reset navigation stack makes sure that you are not able to go back to the page you're coming from. Now, this might be important in some cases and may not be important in other cases, and I'll show you in a bit. So for the purpose of this one that we're going for, we will be using a stack. However, if you pick a modal, it will just show you the other page on this page. However, you still be able to see the previous page under, because you just want to see something briefly and this one will move away. All right, so let's use a stack instead. Now, as we progress, you see the clear difference as we test out these pages. Okay, so let's pick the page we want to go to, and that is auth. And then I think I should exemplify it so that it will be very, very clear. All right, so I would not check this, so I won't check this. However, I'll show you where this would be very important. So now that we've made this change, you would not really see this change you are looking for here on the computer, because if you click on this, it moves to this other part and you are not sure. Now we could say let's change this to modal and try refreshing this page, but we'll still not see what we are looking for because we want to see this stacked on the other one since it is a modal. So let's go to my phone. You can also check your phone too as you make these changes and then see how exactly it works. So if you want to make changes on your phone, you need to shake it. So once you shake the phone, you can relaunch your app, as you can see. So now that we've done a refresh, when you click on start planning, notice that this page, the new page, is stacked on this other one. All right, so because it is stacked on this other one, we call it a modal. Now let's change it to a stack and you see the difference too. All right, so let's go back here and change this to a stack, and then let's go and do a refresh on our phone. So let's shake again and relaunch the app, and then we'll do the start planning. Notice that it just moves away for this other page to come. So this is what we want for this page, and that's the difference between a stack and a modal, basically. So having understand this whole stack and modal thing, the views and all that, let's get back into building proper. So let's come back here inside of the authentication. This is where we'll be working. All right. So the first thing we want to do is to create a state. So this state will determine whether we are using this page for login or we're using it for creating an account. So let's click on the auth page here, view rather, and then come to this top here and click on this I button, which is info button, and then click to add a custom state. So we'll say it's login, and then we'll set it to a yes or no, like that. Create it, and we'll say the default should be yes. So what we use this to do is to determine if we are using this page for login or not. So by default, we are using it for a login, and custom states basically help us to hold data for temporary time or for temporarily while we are on the app before we move away from the particular page where we are. All right, so let's close that off and we'll reference it in a bit. All right, so let's come to this top. So the first thing we want to do is to determine if this is a login or create account. So the way we do it, let's get rid of this and then let's do the dynamic expression. So we'll click on this blue button and then we want to say auth is login is yes. So we're checking is this is login yes. So if it is yes, we want to format this to a text. So if it is a yes, we want to make it a login. So we want that title there to be login. If not, we want it to be create account. Can make it create an account, something like that, and close it off. And then we can just put in login here for the canvas view. All right, now we'll copy this and also use it here in the button. So here we'll paste it, paste. Same thing, let's change the canvas here to login. All right, okay, so with that set up properly, the next thing would be being able to change between the login and the create account. So let's come here and then we want this to change depending on that custom state too. So here, let's also put in this dynamic expression, but we'll make a bit of a change. So paste it in. However, we want it to be that when this is a login page, we want to tell the user that, hey, you can also create accounts. So what we'll do is to swap out this. So let's get rid of this and paste it here. Get this one off and paste it here. All right. So whenever it's supposed to be a login page, it can tell you, hey, you can create accounts, something like that. All right, so let's test this out and see. Okay, we have not added the dynamic expression. Sorry, the workflow rather. So let's click on add workflow, come down here and say set state. So you see set state of an element here, and the element we are setting it on is the page, which is auth, and then we are changing its login. So we just want you to change whatsoever that is there to the opposite. So if it is a yes, make it a no. If it is a no, make it a yes. Something like that. Okay. So the way we do this is to say auth is login is no. So with this expression, it will convert everything there to the opposite. So let's go back and do a refresh. So we can do a refresh from here. All right. So we see it's showing login at the top here. It's also showing login here at the bottom. So when we click on create account, it changes everything to here. Here will be now create account. Here will be login. So we can swap it like that here. We also want to hide the name when we are not creating an account. So let's go back. Click on this, click on the name. And the first thing we want to do is to hide it. So we want it to be hidden when a user comes to the page. And the only condition that will make it to open is what we want to put in here. So we want to check if the auth is login is yes. So if it is yes, it should be hidden rather. So we want to make it no rather. So let it be no. So at this point is when you are supposed to create an account. So this one I want you to show. So this element is visible. So let's go back here and do a refresh. So I'll see how it does the refresh from here. I notice that login, it is hidden. So let's click on create account. So create account is showing us the name now. And for login, it's hidden, just like that. And that's how that condition will work. So the next thing I want to do would be to create an account and actually log in from here. All right. So for us to do that, let's go click on the button here, and then we'll conditionally do this thing. So everything will be based on this custom state that we have arranged here. All right. Okay, so let's click on the login and add the workflow. So here in the workflow, we want to log the user in. So log the user in. However, we want to only log this user in when the auth is login is yes. All right, because we are using the same input. So we'll take in the input email value. I'll make sure we trim it. Same thing for the password. We are taking the input password value. Also make sure that it's trimmed to avoid spaces, unnecessary spaces. This is for security purpose. Now, sometimes we could also want to sign the user up. So what do we do? Sign user up. Sign the user up. So we're using the same email. So input email value trimmed. Password, input password value trimmed, like that. Now notice that at the point of login, we are able to add name. All right, so we want to make sure that the name is available. So we could choose to add the name from here. By default, we are giving the user data type. So we can come here and say we are creating a field called name, and it should be of type text, like that. Create it. We'll also be needing profile picture, type image. Then we'll be needing biography, right? So this is how you create data type, which will be used to store a particular kind of data. So for example, this is the user data type. It will be used to store user details. So it's like creating an object with many characteristics. So this is a user, which is an object. It has many characteristics, which are this table, these fields that we've added, like the bio, the name, the profile picture, the email, and all that. We could also have another one. So a new type we could have is tasks. So there's no need to make it plural, just task, and create it. And then we could have here like something like task title, and it will be of type text. Create. Then we could have the description, type text. Due date. That's when this task is supposed to be completed. Then we also have the owner, which will be of type user. Now, it is true that by default, Bubble gives you the creator field. But here's the problem with the creator. We don't have a say about the creator. We can't easily manipulate the creator. Sometimes we might actually need for the owner to be entered by somebody else. So we want to have full control of that. So we could just set this, and this would work for us for now. So let's go back and go to our workflow, and then want to add the name here. So you see the name is now showing up. And so remember that we have an input name. Let's put the value. This should be trimmed also. So this is at the point of registration. So how do we determine that it is at the point of registration? The auth is login would be no. So which would be the opposite of this one. The auth is login is yes. All right. So once this is done, we want to navigate to another page. So which page would that be? Normally we want to take the user to where his tags are, right? All right, so we don't have that page yet. So what we do here is to create that view. So the view will be view of tasks, and this should be section list. So pick the section list and create it. So once it's done creating, you have something like this, but nothing will actually show on your page because we have not filled in anything. However, I want to be able to navigate to this page. So let's go back to our auth and go back to the workflow and then come down here and say, go to view. So for this, we want it to be a stack because we don't want to go back to the other page. There's no point. And we pick the view, which is stacks. I want to make sure that we destroy the stack history. So this is important because when a person is logged in, there will be no need to go back to the login page because, I mean, what are you doing there? Nothing. So I want to destroy that history, all right? This is also important when we are logging out. So once we log out, we need to destroy the stack history so that the person don't go back. All right, so this should work as we've planned. So let's check it out. So first thing we want to do is to do a refresh. We seem to have some issues. Okay, so this is for the section lists and section header, which we'll attend to in a bit. Okay, so let's just do a refresh once again. So it's showing us to log in. Of course, we don't have anything inside of our database, so let's create an account instead, and we can say ebere. It will be ebere@gmail.com, and the password, pick what suits you. All right, so let's try that again just to make sure, and create account. So it will take a while, and then after some time, it moves to this tax page. All right, now to be sure that we have created an account, you go to the data, go to the user, and go to the app data. I notice that we'll have one user, which is the ebere@gmail.com that we have created. All right, we can also log in if we want to log in. Let's test that out too. All right, so let's test the login here. We already created an account, so just check it out. ebere@gmail.com. 1 2 3 4 5 6, and then click on login. It logs us in. So this means this is working. This is where the tax is supposed to be. So let's head back and work on the tax. All right, so we will just paste in what we've copied. So everything goes inside of this section list basically. So we just paste it in, and it will go to the bottom, but want to make it first. So make it first here. So it comes up. So instead of authentication here, I want it to be tasks, something like this. And that is it basically. So we can go back here and do a refresh just to make sure that we are on the right page. So it logs us out. So let's make sure we're logged in at gmail.com. 1 2 3 4 5 6. So login, and we're on the tax page, which is where we want to be. All right, so what is next here? We want to be able to add tasks. So we're already logged in, so the next thing is being able to add tasks, because when we add tasks, that is when we will be able to view these different tasks that has been added. All right, so for that we need to do a little bit of an adjustment here. So first things first, we want to group this into a row container, and then we want to remove the padding that comes with this. All right, and the padding will now go inside of this group. So we'll do a heading like that. So we can say, let's make this padding, maybe we should keep it at the same 50. So let's see, 50 like that. And then here, we're making sure that there's space between, which will happen immediately we add another maybe button or group there. All right, so let's add a button in here. All right, so we'll have the button there. I want this to be left aligned, by the way. This one, left align. Let's make sure that this text, I think I applied the padding to the wrong thing. It should be on the group. Yeah. like that. Then for this, let's make sure it is left aligned. So just like that. And let's keep this one's padding to maybe 20. Left 20, right 20. Let's give that 10. So I think this should be better. And then let's change the styling of this a bit. All right, so that should be better. Let's make this icon and label and do like a plus, something like that. Let's see. Plus, okay, so this should work. So let's see, the text will be add. So that's it. So what does this do? This will open up a new view and a form. So in the new view and a form, it will be a place where to add a new task. That's it. So we'll have a new form over there. At this point, we can start copying from what we've done before. So that will be a bit fast. So at this point, we need to create a new view. And we'll say add/edit tasks. So we are doing this because we'll be using the same form to do both the adding and the editing of task. So one should be singular. Create it like that. On a second thought, we'll have just cloned the other auth page. So let's use that to learn. So let's delete this. Let's delete this. Confirm. And we'll just clone the auth page. So we want to clone the auth page because it's going to be very similar, like this, and clone it. Great. So instead of authentication here, we'll say add task. And then for this, I can get rid of this one. And because we wouldn't be needing extra, so just move this form out like this, and then get rid of this one. And now we need 3 entries. So for here, we'll be making this name visible. We'll of course be changing this in a bit. All right. So we'll change this to title. All right, so everything there would now be title. Also do the same thing here, text. Great, title. Then the next thing we want to do here is to change this to a date picker because we need to set the due date. All right, so we'll convert this to reusable. Sorry, not reusable. We are replacing this, not converting. So replace this element type to a date picker. Replace like that. All right, so instead of email, we put due date. Due dates like that. Make sure to change it everywhere. So I'm changing this to date picker, due date, like that. I think everything looks okay. Then the last thing here is password. So you can add an icon at this top by changing this to label an icon. You can just change this icon to whatever you want, by the way. So the last thing here is password, but I want to change it to description. So change it. Now, instead of even using an input, let's use a multi-line. So what we can do is also to replace this. So replace the element type with a multi-line input and replace it like that. So it changes to description. So it's a multi-line. All right. And for the height, let's change this to 80 and make it the minimum height. Now we could add a little bit of padding inside of it, so like 12. I think that works. Can do that for this too. 12. Let me see. Okay, so let's make it look like the other one by maybe just getting rid of this, getting rid of the top and bottom, so that they all look alike. So for these two, let's get rid of the top and bottom one. All right, great. So they all have similar designs now, so they look good. Okay, so here in this page, we want to create a task. So to create a task, just change this, please. We'll be back here to make a bunch of changes. All right, so before here, let's just put add. All right, just like that. So how do you add a task? Like we did before, click on this, hit on the edit. So it's showing you edit workflow because we cloned this and so it came with some functionality. So we need to delete this workflow. So if you go back again and try it, you see it's showing you add workflow. So for here, what we need to do is create a new thing. So what we want to create? We want to create a task. And so what's the first thing? The first thing there is a title. So we take the title, input title value like that. Let's make sure it's trimmed to avoid wasted spaces. Next thing is due date. Which date do we expect this to be due? So due date picker value like that. And then last thing is the description. Multi-line description value like that. All right, and that is it. So once this is done, want to return, of course, reset the relevant inputs, and then want to return. So go to view. So which view do we want to go to? Once again, we want this to move to a stack, not a modal. So it moves to tasks. So of course, immediately you finish adding something, you need to go see that stuff and see how it's doing, of course. All right, great. So it should return to task. So let's go back to tasks. So this is our task. So before we work on this, we want to go and see how the adding works. So once we see how the adding works, we'll see how to retrieve all this good stuff that we've been adding. By the way, we seem to have two issues. So section lists. Okay, we'll come back to this. This is for the task. So let's do a refresh. Now at this point, we need to use our mobile application to test, but let's log in first so I see what I'm saying. So very at gmail.com and login. So we'll have the add button here, which I think I need to move this to the left or make it look better. So if you click on this, it's meant to navigate us. I would think we've not added that functionality. So let me change the styling a little bit. Let's take the outline primary. Okay, I think that's a better option for me. So add workflow, and what we want to do is we want this to open, I think as a modal or a stack, modal stack. All right, so let's do the modal one. So go to view, let it be a modal, and then we want this add task. All right, so let's do a refresh and login. log in, hit on add, it brings us here, and let's try to add. Now the problem is the due date would not open because it's not on mobile. So you could try to click on the due date, it wouldn't open, and I noticed that it's showing email here. So let's go back and do a bit of fixing. So come back here and let me get why it is showing email. Not sure why it's showing email, but let me drag in a date picker. All right, and remove this and say, hey, due date. So let's change that. Let's get rid of this and make sure that it's not fixed. Let's also make sure that this is labeled an icon, and I think that works. That will just be fine. And then let's edit the workflow. So here in creating, because we made these changes, we need to change this due date time picker value to the right one. So let's try again. All right. So we log in. I think I made a mistake. Let's try again. Great, we are in. Hit on this and try to hit this. So now it's showing select date instead of email, which is how it should work. However, we're not able to see the pop-up to select date. So you see, at this point, we need to go back to our phone and do the testing. All right, so let's head on to our phone. All right, so I guess I was not talking. So now we are logged in. You see the difference between a stack and a modal. So as we click on the add task, immediately shows us the modal because it's still showing what's under. That makes it a modal. Okay, so let's say workday. Pick a date, and so you see the date pop-up have shown us, and we can pick second, pick third, or just pick any day. Okay, so let me pick second, which is today, and we can choose to add a description here. Working today, something like that. All right, and then that is it. Change this today, and we submit it. So if you want to submit, it returns us back to the add page. All right, so let's go back. All right, so something you might have noticed is as we went back to the task, it starts the task page on the modal or as a modal. The reason being because we didn't close the modal. So instead of going to this view task, what we're supposed to do is just close that modal. All right, because of course this task view was not actually removed from the stack. Okay, so we are deleting this. So let's delete this, and then let's just close or go to previous mobile view, something like that. Okay, so we just do the go to previous mobile view. So once you do the go to previous mobile view, instead of stacking something else, it just moves back to the former stack. So that makes it easy so that you don't have to mess up your view. So now that we are able to add task, so the next thing we want to do is go back to this task page. All right, so now that we're on the task page, we want to feed in this particular page with what's necessary for this page. So what do we want to do on this page? We want to manage tasks, right? So let's go back here, and here in the section list, change this to tasks, and the type of content we're expecting is task. So because it's looking for a list of tasks, you can generate more than one task at a time. So we want to do a search for, and we're doing a search for task where the owner is the current user. So the current user means the user that is logged in. And then want this to be sorted by due date. We could choose to rearrange this and change the sorting to yes. I want it to be descending, and that is it. So this would generate all the tasks belonging to a person that is logged in. Now we are now at this point of the section header. So why are we doing a sectioned list? Because our tags are to be grouped by the different days available. We want to be able to group all tags under one day. All right, so let's go back here. Under here, we want to group by due date. So if you group by due date, all the tags that are supposed to be completed on a particular day would be stacked on each other inside that group. Type of grouping, make it day. You could choose to do exact, but I think day will be fine, and the interval will be 1 day starting from today, which will be the current day time. All right, so and that will just be fine. Section header task. All right, now if you go back and maybe do a refresh and log in, you should see something, at least the different dates available. So let's see. It's not showing yet. All right, so let's go back and continue working. So I think why it's not showing is because we see do not we didn't check this do not skip empty groups. But however, it's not so important. Or let's come down a little bit. Okay, so let's come down here and actually show what's there. So current headings grouping, and we want to format it this way. January 2nd 2026. So that is how I want to format it. So it's to be January to 2026. So every day we just have its own date. Okay, all right, so that works. So let's do this refresh again and try. All right, so great. So let's come back here and keep working and see what's popping. So let's go down here and start adding down to this list. Okay, so here in the list we want to add, say, the name. So first of all, the current items tax name, or title rather. So that works. So let's just work here, and let's make sure we have something down here in the database. So let's come down to app data here. We have two things, so we should be able to retrieve data now. Let's try. And it is not showing yet. So we notice that in our tags here, we limited the tags we retrieve by the owner. But here's the problem. We have forgotten to add the owner here. So for the two tags we have here, it has no owner. So let's go back to our add tags. Come down here, edit text, come down here and make sure it has an owner. So this is how we'll be able to limit it to show only what belongs to that owner. So the owner will be the current user, right? So for us to be able to retrieve these ones that we'll have here, I'll need to use the email I used to sign in. Okay, so save that. Got it. Same thing for this. Save it. So let's go back here, try it out again. let's move to tasks. Okay, let's refresh. Great. So you see it's showing up exactly because I'm the user, right? So let's test this out on our phone too and see how exactly it's working. Okay. So we'll do a refresh and relaunch. Okay. Make sure to log in. All right, so we have it showing as it should. So let's try adding wash, and let's put say it confirm dishes and clothes and submit. So you should add a new date, which is 8, and add what we have there. Okay, so this means everything is working as it should be. But what else do we do after adding tags? Let's go back and work on what we can do. So because we can edit, we can delete, we can also update the status of our task. Okay, so let's go back to our computer. All right, so the next thing we want to do would be to edit. So let's go back. So for us to edit, we need to add the functionality. All right, so when you come here, you click on this particular vertical list item. You notice that here in the property menu, property pane, notice that there's leading swipe actions and trailing swipe actions. So for the leading, that will be the left. Then for the trailing, that will be the right. So for this leading one, we want to add one button, and that is the trash one. We are fine with this. We use this to delete an item. Okay, so you save that. So now you have the delete button, but we want 2 other buttons in the other side. That's the trailing swipe. Okay, so add it. Now we want to make adjustments to this and save it. So this first one will be edit. Okay, so let's change the icon to edit and look for, yeah, so good. So this pen, you should be fine. And then let's change this to blue. And what else? So let's save that. We want to add one more thing here, and that would be to check it. So let's say you are done with an item, you want to check it as completed. So let's change this. So icon is just fine, and let's do check. So I want just the check itself. Okay, and want to change this to green. So that would be just fine. Let's save that. So we'll have it like this. So we can move this either ways. You can make one the first, make one the last, just how you wish it should be, something like this. Okay, all right, so you can also rename it. So like this one will now be delete, this first one would be edit, and this first one will be check, something like that. Okay, so that would be just fine. Now what's next? We can choose to delete. So instead of doing the delete first, I feel like we should do the edit first. So let's do the edit. So what do we want to do when we click on this edit button? So recall that when we were naming this view, we named it add and edit. So what we want to do is to bring up this form and edit that particular tags. So when we click on this, we'll add a workflow. So what we want to do is to go to view, and we're making it modal, and it is add and edit view. So once you click on that particular button, it should bring up this particular add edit view for you like that. So let's try that. All right, so let's drag it a bit like this. click on this and you see it brings it up for you just as it should be. All right, now but notice that it doesn't come in with the details that we're about to edit, because there was some details for us to edit. So for example, this one that is it, we should at least see the title showing. So what's the problem? The problem is that we are not passing down the data that is being expected. So let's go back here and go to the add edit task. Here in the add edit task, come to here and want to indicate that this particular view is expecting something. So what is it expecting? It is expecting a task from the other place that it is coming from. Make sense? And so now for us to do that, we need to add maybe like a new property, and that makes it easy for us. So if you add a new property, then you can add these particular details to this particular screen. Makes sense? So here we want to create this particular property. And which property would that be? It has to be a task property. Task. And so we say it should be of type field type task. Now this is optional because sometimes when you want to add, you're using the same form, you wouldn't need to pass it down. All right, so that would be it. So we just add it like this. And so when we go back to our task page here and go to edit workflow, come down here, notice that it is requesting a task because we have said that one of the properties you can pass down is a task. So what happens here? At this point, you can say current items task. You pass it down to this. Now, when you pass it down to the add edit task, we expect that when it has gotten it, you need to pass it down to each children. All right. So for example, here, we can now use a condition and say you can either add or edit task. So how do we do this? Let's add this dynamic expression. And so we want to say add edit task. Do you see it? When it is empty, format it as a text. So if it is empty, we want it to be add. However, if it is not empty, that means something was passed down. We want it to be edit. So close this off like that. And we do add task here as a canvas placeholder. Like this. So using the same method, we can just conditionally set up anything that we please. Let's just make sure that there is a space here. Okay, so that works. Now let's take here and say the type of content we're expecting is task, and it is to be getting from this add edit task. So now I can now pass it as children to the parent and parent to the children, just depending on what works for you. So let's delete this, please. So same thing, task, parents group task, and then come down here. Now for the initial content, we want it to be whatsoever is in that parent group task title. Now it is always best to use parent group to pass down data because it is more efficient and it is faster. So let's do the same thing for here. Task, parent group task, pass it down, and we say the initial content, parent group task, due date, like that. Let's do that for here too. Task, parent group task, and let's come down here in the initial content. Want it to be parent group task, description, like that. And now whenever we try to make edits, we should be able to see we should be able to see the details of what we want to edit. Make sense? So let's go back to task and try to do a preview. So let's drag to this side and hit on this. Notice that we can now see it, we can see the dates, and we can see the description. So the problem now is when we add this, it is going to show, it's just going to add a new task. So, but what we want is edit. And this is that at the top here, it's already showing us edit task instead of add because we're editing. So let's go back to our add edit. And let's copy the condition from here. Paste it in here. Like this. Change this to like that. So that cleans up that one. And now let's go back to the workflow. So edit workflow and come down here. So we need to rework what we've done here. So for us to make it work, we need to, so we'll delete this this particular workflow at the end, but let's add a new workflow here and say create. So I want to create a new thing, which is a task. So for what we are doing now, we'll create this task only if the parent group task is empty. So we assume that if you are coming to edit a particular task, that means the task will not be empty. However, if you are adding a new task, this task will be empty. So the only time you will be creating a new task would be when there is no task passed down to you. Now, if you've done this, the next thing to do is to make changes to thing. So normally you use make changes to thing to update something. Now, either ways, when you create something, the next thing is to make changes. So whether something was passed, maybe whether a task was passed or not, you need to make these changes. But how do you know what to change? Because if something was passed, then there'll be something that has been given you to make changes to. But if nothing was passed, you will need to take the new task and change. So what you do is to combine them into some sort of an array and then take what is existing inside of it. So let me break it down here. So the first thing you want to do is to do parents group task, right? Convert it to a list. So more like make it into an array. Now you merge it with the results of step 2. So this is step 2 because we are going to be deleting this first one. So we want to combine it with this result. And then we say, if we combine it with this one, we want to pick the first item. So let's do this again. So instead of merge, please, let's use plus. So plus, and then we'll pick first item. So what we're doing is we are saying, give us the parents group tags if you have any. And then if you don't have, give us these new tags that you've created and let's make changes to it. So either ways, you are making changes to something that is already there. Okay. So the first thing we want to make changes to will be title. And here in the title, and check input title value trimmed. After that, it will be due date value. Next thing will be description, multi-line description value trimmed. Now for the owner, because the owner the owner cannot be changed, you can come back to the create here and add the owner. So this can not be changed. So that will be the current user. And so we now have everything that we want. So we can get rid of this one. So we create a new tax if there's no tag given to us. And then you make changes to tax, whether there's a tax or not. All right, so that works. And that will return us to where it's supposed to be. So let's go back to task, do a preview. So let's try. dragging it, edit, and if okay, let's change this one. That's easy for us to see. Let's submit. Notice that it has changed. All right. So after this, what's next? The other thing we can do is to delete, right? So usually when you want to delete, what do? There is usually like a confirmation that used to happen. So that's a pop-up. But here in the mobile, there is no pop-up. All we have is sheet. So the sheet takes the place of the pop-up. So what we'll do now is here in the task page or view rather, we'll drag in a sheet. So a sheet is the same thing as a pop-up with a little more control. So here's a sheet, we'll drag it in here. Let's make sure it comes right in. So drag in a sheet and paste it. So here's sheets. I'll say delete confirmation, something like that. So what happens here is anytime we click on delete, we want this confirmation to come up, right? Now, what do we want to delete at the point of deleting? We want it to be task, and this task will pass it in dynamically. All right. So inside of this sheet, let's drag in a text, which will be a question: do you or are you sure you want to delete this task? All right, so that is it. Let's make sure it is full width, and let's center align or have there. All right, and let's give this sheet some padding. So let's keep it at 20. I think that should be just fine. All right, so everything should be inside of this. Let's duplicate this and put in the name of the task. All right, so we're expecting that a task should come in here. So from the parent group's task, we just add in the name. We just want to make sure that this is a little darker, so keep it at 700. And then we need to add 2 buttons, so put in this one. So the first one, let's say cancel. So the first one will say cancel, more like no cancel, something like that. Right? Then the second button will say yes, I'm sure. Go ahead. All right, now what we want to do at this point is to group. So let's group these 2 buttons, and let's just call them buttons, something like that. So it's going to be colon task actions, something like that. And let's make sure we give them a split of say maybe around 10. So there should be a little space. And for the sheets, let's give space of say around 20. So I think this is good. And then we want to change the yes to red, so that somebody who is speaking that should know that, hey, what you're about to do is destructive. Feel dark, destructive. Okay, I think I prefer this. Then for this, let's lighten it up a bit. So outline that primary, no. All right, that works for me. All right, so what we want to do is once a user clicks on no cancel, we want to hide this sheet. So sheet delete confirmation, just hide it. However, if a person clicks on delete, add that workflow that says, so first things first, we'll hide this sheet, and then we want to delete a thing. What I'm deleting is parent group's task. That's how this will go. So first thing, when the person opens, they see this question, they see the task name, and they have the choice to either cancel or go ahead. All right, so that is it for this sheet. And so let's go back to this button here. What happens when you click on that button? So when you click on that button, come down here and notice that we didn't really add a data source. Not like we can't pass it in here, but the best way would be here to pass it through here dynamically. So when we add a workflow here, we want to show. So it is always best practice to reset some of these things. So we can reset group or pop-up, and our sheet is one of them. Then we want to display this sheet. Want to display data in this sheet, and the data I want to display will be the current items task. After this, we now want to show the sheet. Get what we're doing here? First of all, we are resetting it just in case it's still holding any data. But of course, once we display data in it, it would override whatever is there, and then you will now show the sheet. Now, inside of the sheet, you will now have access to the data that has been passed in, which is the task. And so inside of here, it will now be asking you, hey, you want to delete this? It will show you the name, and you can choose to either delete or not delete. All right, so let's check here. We have one error. All right, that error is gone. The error is gone. All right, so let's do a refresh. Great. So everything is showing as it should. So let's come down to this wash one and drag it to this end and hit the delete button. You see, it brings up this. So let's do it again, and let's make sure we can see what's going on. So we drag it in and we click on this. It gives us this pop-up. Are you sure you want to delete this? Now you can drag this up or drag it down as the case may be. So if you drag it down, it moves away. Click on this, and then we come here and say cancel. It closes it off. If you click on it again and we say yes, go ahead, it deletes this and the date goes off. So that's how this works. So the delete is working as it should be. So what else is there would be to check that a particular task has been done. So if you want to do that, we go back here and we can click on this. So if we click on this, we want to add a workflow. So add a workflow, and we'll say make changes to theme. So what we want to make changes to is current items task, and what we want to change is the date completed. So an item is either pending or completed. So what we'll do here is current date time. So that marks it as completed. All right. Now for us to be able to see the results, we need to come down here, come to our text here. And so we don't want just one text here. We want to have multiple texts whereby we can see what's going on, if an item has been completed or not. So we want to create a group for this. So it will be a row group. So row, so that we can have multiple groups. And by the way, we want this, the height and width of this, the minimum should be 10 and this should be 10. All right. So we can just say group task details. All right. So we can make these 2. So copy and paste this tag. So we have them on both sides. We can use a canvas to make this a bit more readable. So we'll do task like that. We can add name, task title. So guys, it's readable. Then here I want current task, date completed. Now I want to format this into a text. So date completed is empty. We'll format it into a text. So we are checking if the date is empty. Now if it is empty, that means it's pending. So we'll put pending there. However, if it is not empty, that means it is completed. Those are the only 2 reasons why that place can be empty or filled up. All right. So we can just put say pending here. All right. And then we want this to be left aligned. So let's go back here. Make sure that this is left aligned. And then we want the color to differ based off on what we have there. All right. So let's come back here and copy this text. copy this expression. Now the default color should be the pending color, which would be yellow. However, if for any reason, let's paste this condition, is not empty, let's change the color, the font color, to green. Let's also make sure that it is italicized. All right, great. So let's go back, test out, and see what's going on here. So we can zoom this to 100, drag this in, and check. So you see, as soon as we check it, it becomes completed. All right. Same for this. Click on it, and it becomes completed. That's just how we want it to be. All right. Now, great. We have been able to cover so much that we didn't even check out our curriculum. So we've completed this editor walkthrough. We are currently in the build a task app with authentication, and here's what we've completed so far. So we've done the homepage, we've done authentication, we can view task, we can add task. We've actually completed everything about the view task currently. We can edit our task. We can update the status, which is what we just did. We can delete task. And now what we want to do is to set up the tab for easy navigation. All right. Now, under setting up the tab, after setting up the tab, we now have the settings page where we'll have the logout, the user info and photo, and the user credentials. All right, let's head back here. Let's head back here and go back here, and let me show you how the tab works. Now, the tab helps for navigation. So you can check out the documentation. Okay, I thought I closed it off. So if you go back, go to design, go to elements, come down here to iOS and go to view here. You should see where it talks about the tab. Now, great. So here's the tab item. It talks about tab here. And so we want to create something like this whereby you can move a bit more like on the same screen. You just swap out screens. This will require some serious work if you're writing code for this or building it out on the web. So this is really cool. So what we want to do is to make sure that this task is on a tab. So for you to do that, just come to the tags here and say include as tab item. If you hit on include as tab item, you should have navigation under here showing you that, hey, this tab now contains this particular task. So you can now choose to change this icon to what it should be. So what should it look like? So let's see if we have anything for this. So this looks nice in my opinion. I think this is great. Task. All right, and the label will be task. Of course, the target view will be task. This can be changed any way you want it. All right, you can check out the conditionals and how it works later. All right, so now when we refresh, we should now have the tab under, but because it is just task, you should have just one tab. So let's add settings to it. So we'll go out here, create a new view, and say this view will be settings. All right, it's going to be scrollable view. What else do we need? Don't really need much, but we can use let's say the authentication. I think we should use the authentication screen. Let's use it as a basis for what we're doing, and then we'll get rid of this whole, yeah, we just needed this. On the second thought, I think what we need is something like greeting, hey, this, something like that. I think so, but let's leave here as settings to keep the design consistent, and then let's come below and set up what we are talking about. So let's add a group. Here in the group, we'll add an image, and this image, so this setting, we want it to be of rather this group, we want it to be of type user, so group user, and we want this to be the current user, so pick the current user. So I want to display this users details here. I want this to be of type row, so that I can have multiple things on the same row. Okay, and then image user profile photo. Let's make sure this is on zoom, and then here let's take its parent group's user profile image. All right, you can put a canvas for it here and all that stuff. So let's make sure we set the width and the height. So I want the width to be 100, like that. I make it fixed width, so and keep a ratio of 1 to 1, so that both sides will just be the same thing. And then we can just have the name by the side. Let's say welcome, or we'll add the person's name, parent group's users name, something like that. All right, so use a capital H here, and then this is feeling quite big, so let's make it 50. Yeah, I think that's better. And then let's add a space here. No, that's too much. 20, 20, 20. I think this is better, like this. This is better. Okay. Then for this, I want to add this radius of 360, like this. Okay, so that works for that one. I think that's just good. So it should be just fine. All right, so one thing we need to do is to add it to the tab now. So come here, go to the setting here, and say include as tab item. So just click on this include, and this is done for you automatically. All right, so you can choose to push this downwards, like that. Don't know why it's not moving, but that's fine. All right, now down inside of here, you now have the setting, tab item settings. And so what do we want to do? We want to change this to settings. Let's go change it. Let's go to material. I think we should have what we want here. So settings, that's it. And so that works for us. That's just fine. All right, so let's check this out. Great. It's saying hey, Barry. Now it is not showing the profile image because there's no profile image, but we could add more like a placeholder. What happens when that is empty? So parent groups user profile image is empty. So if it is empty, the image source should now be something else. So we can pick something random. We just do user dummy image, something like this, and just pick something here. And this should be just fine. I think this works. All right, so let's paste this in to be a dynamic image. So paste this in here, becomes dynamic. So let's do a refresh and check it out. When it is empty, what happens? So we should have an image showing up for us as at an empty state. So the refresh is done. Great. So we'll have it showing up like this for us, and that is it for that one. So we want to now add a few things that is done within the settings. I'll just make sure that this particular group has like, we'll add a little padding top and bottom, and then add like a border bottom at the top. So first things first, top and bottom be like a 20 20, like this. I think that's fine. We don't even need for the top. Then let's look for the border bottom. So define each border independently. Click on this and come to the bottom and say we want it to be maybe dotted or dashed, and this should be just fine. Let's do a refresh. All right, so this works for me. Now you notice that I always come out here to click the play button, because first of all, it's easier to do a refresh that way, and sometimes when you try to refresh here, it signs you out. So I try to use it from inside there. Okay, so nothing special, just that. All right, so this works for me, and then I want to group this into one container. So just group it into a column container, and we can cite it as, say, maybe something like heading. All right, and then we can have another group added. This is where we put in our sign out, our logout, and update info, update credentials. So drag it in like this, that, and let's make sure that there's a space between. So let's give it a space, set it to like 20. So there should now be a space. Main content. Then let's add in our logout button here. And of course, our logout button shouldn't look inviting. So let's do this logout like that. Let's come back here. So I said our logout button shouldn't look inviting. Let it be scary, something like this. That works. Now, when you click on this add workflow, it should log you out. So log out. Now you could choose to do like a confirmation like we did for the delete. So add a sheet, it asks you, hey, are you sure you want to log out, and then do all those good stuff. But I'm doing it this way because this is just a tutorial, and I'm sure you've already learned how to do that in our previous sections. All right, so when you log out, where do you want to go? We want to go to the home. So go to view, and the view want to go to his home. Now, also, when we log out, we want to destroy any history of stacks that we already have. So we don't want a logged out user to be able to go back and make any changes. So we want to destroy the stack as it should be. All right, so let's go back, check what we've done here. And then let's make sure that you can see everything from beginning to the end. And so you see down here, we now have task and we have setting. So just like that. All right. All right. So what happens when we do a sign out? So let's do a sign out. It should just take us out and take us to the home page. So this is exactly how it should behave. All right. All right. So notice that it's not showing any name because we are signed out. Now you're only able to come here because I think it's in the web. Normally on mobile, you wouldn't be able to come here. All right. So let's make sure that we are signed in. And in fact, we can set up conditionals saying that, hey, if you come to this place, you're not signed in, make sure you're signed out. All right. So let's go back to our home, and let's open up, and let's do a proper sign in. So let's come here, gmail.com. Okay. Login. So we are signed in. Great. And when we go to our settings, we see our sign out. So what are other things we want to do here? Two more things. One, we want to update credentials, and then want to update user info. All right. All right. So let's go to the settings. Let's drag in two more buttons. Let's place it at the top. Can copy and paste this actually. So the first thing here would be update info. And this one will be update credentials, like that. Now let's make sure that all of these are well spaced. So let's come here, add some spacing, say 20. So looking nice. And let's change the colors a bit. This first one, we can make it feel like this. The second one, outline primary, like this. So I think this should work for me. So that's fine. Okay. So that's fine. I think that's fine. So what do we want at this point? So we want to be able to, for this first one, update the information of a particular user. So that will require updating every other thing aside the email and the password. Now for this credential, I want to be able to update email and password. Those are the things. All right, great. So that is working. Or it's going to work rather. All right, so I want to create two views. So mobile view, and we are duplicating the auth. So do updates user credentials create. And just say, hey, user credentials. And get rid of this text. All right. And then here is supposed to be showing us the name. So let's show that name. We're getting rid of it because this is only for credentials, right? So we're needing the old and the new password. So let's duplicate this. All right. And this would be new password, group new password. All right. Instead of here, let it be new password, like that, new password, just like that. Okay, so input new password. Then for this would be old password. So old password, come down here, old password, come down here, old password, like that. Input old password, group old password, and then let's move it back to previous. All right, so this is great. That works for us. And then for here, it will just be update. Can get rid of this one too. And what do we have here? And then this is group pods. I can pull this up, get rid of this. Let's get cleaner that way. Okay. So we can fill it up here and say, hey, initial content will be current user email, like that. So now here in the updates, we'll do edit workflow. We'll get rid of this because this one is coming from the previous place. So let's go back, go here, say add workflow. Here in the add workflow, we want to update users' credentials. So from here, we need an old input password. Now, when the password has been entered, I want to change the email. So change the email, input email, value, trimmed, like that. I want to change the password. So the new password, value. So that will just be fine. And we could choose to, trim all these things just to make sure there's no trailing space or something. So this is for best practice for security reasons. All right. Now you could choose to do a require password confirmation. You could choose not to show success message, send email for confirmation. You can do all this stuff. If you want extra on this, you can check out my previous videos on how to do advanced authentication on Bubble. Well, I'm this guy showing you things you can do on mobile. Okay. All right, so when this has been completed, we want to go to view, or rather go to tab, and the tab would be settings. So I want you to return to that settings tab once you are done. As a matter of fact, usually it's important that you sign out immediately this is done. So what I think would be best would be to log out. So log out, log the user out, right? And let the user try to sign in again. All right, so that is great. Now we've done for updating user credential. So we want to now do for updating user information, right? All right, update user info. We are also duplicating the auth. Yeah, great. All right, so here we change it to user information. User info should just be fine. Okay, we'll get rid of this. And things will really change here because we're not updating this. We are also not updating this. However, we're updating the name this time around, and it should be visible from page load. We also want to get rid of this. Change this to update. Change it to updates like that. So the name is there. We also want bio. So let's copy and paste like that. Copy, paste. And everything here should change to bio. So text name should be text bio, like that. You can change this to multi-line input. So let's replace it with multi-line input. Replace and change this to bio. Change it to bio, multi-line. Left and right, let's keep it at 20 like that. If that seems too much, so it should be 12 like that. Okay, so we have the name setup, we have the bio setup. So one more thing would be the image, which is a profile image. All right, so this is quite interesting because this is very different from what you do when you are building on the web. So let's jump into it. So group form, let's drag this into here, and we'll say this will be for image, and then all right, so drag an image into here. I want to set it to 100 fixed height. All right, and then we can stack the button by the side. So we need to drag in another group. So this will be group actions. So we'll make it 2 of them like that. All right, so this will make sense in a bit. So let's make sure that this layout is in row so that these 2 buttons will be stacked by the side. Also, let's make sure that there's substantial amount of space between 50 like that. Doesn't look bad. All right. Okay, so let's also put in some space here. So like 20, not so bad, but let's make it 10. All right, so that's okay. And so let's make some design changes and text. So the first one should be take photo. Now, imagine that this is for your phone, on your phone. What would happen normally? You always see those 2 options. Either you're taking a photo or you are choosing from your camera roll, that's from your gallery. So that's what we are trying to emulate here. So we can change this to something different. So take photo, and then the second one would be choose from gallery. All right, I feel like I should reduce this a little bit. So maybe 30. Seems better that way. and then this should be zoom, and let's give this a complete curve 360. Gives you a round curve around. All right, so at the point of updating this, so what happens when there is no image? So let's go back here, let's check it out and say, hey, there is no image. So by the way, we want this to be type of user, so let's select that. I'm going to be type of current user. So user, parents groups user. And then let's come down here and say, hey, parent groups user profile image is empty. So what do you want to display? The image source would be this whenever it is empty. Okay. And for here, you are supposed to display, for now, the parent groups user profile image before we start setting up things. Okay, so this is what it would normally be. And so for the canvas placeholder, it could be anything you want to show up here. Okay, so let's just make sure that our design is just fine. So let's open it up. All right, so this is what we have. That's fine. We can just have a little space between these two groups. So let's go back here, Let's add this space here and say 20. So that works just fine. All right, so here we are, and everything seems good. It looks good. Okay, so what do we want to do at this point? We now want to be able to select from our phone, or take a picture and update. All right. Okay, so how do we manage this now? Now you notice that there are two images at this point. Sorry, there are two possible ways to submit images. So one is either we are resubmitting what is existing, or we are submitting what has just been uploaded. All right, let's see how we handle it. So when you come here in this image, here we are displaying the parents groups users profile image. So we are assuming that, okay, this person has a profile image, but how about if you select a new image? What do we do at that point? Now, when we select a new image, we want to be able to hold it somewhere while we are working on other things, or if we choose to change this image a multiple time. So what we'll do at this point is to come to this top at this point of update info at this top here, and we want to create a new state. So this will not be necessary for this. So this new state would be temporary photo, and it's going to hold a type of image. Great. All right, so by default, which photo should be here? It's not really necessary. All right, but if we choose to, we could upload an image and say, hey, this is the image that should be here, and then we use it as the canvas image. Make sense? All right, but I want it to be empty so I will know when it is empty and when there's a canvas image, stuff like that. So this is fine for us. Now let's come back here, and then want to set up a few conditions. So now, if the image that's being held there, that's the image we have taken as photo, is existing, we want to have it here instead of this canvas image that we have here. All right, so let's add this condition saying, if this updates info temporary photo is not empty. So if it is not empty, we want it to be the image source. So the image source becomes this one. And so we can now say, hey, update user info temporary photo should be displayed. All right, now that means that this one has to be displayed only if there is no image from the user already and the temporary photo is not available. So user update user info temporary photo is also empty. So if both of them are empty, that is when this should work. Now, based on the hierarchy, we need to move this up. So we're moving this up because this is likely to run first before this one, so that we don't overload our system. So with this will run only when this is empty and also the user has no previous image. Okay. So we'll test out everything eventually. Now let's now do the actual work, which is here in the take photo and choose from library. So we want to take a photo. So imagine that you are on your phone, add the workflow, and then come here and go to native mobile option here. Come down here because we want to take photo, we want to open the camera. So open camera, and we'll say save to camera library. So this means that whatever photo you take will be saved on your phone. This might be helpful for many reasons. So the user can choose to discard it later. Now make this file private. This is basically you trying to make sure that this file is not exposed to other users, but we are not doing that in this tutorial. So once you do this, the next thing, which should be the last thing, is to set state. So we're setting state of an element on this user update user info view that we are, and the state is this temporary photo, and the value is going to be the result of what we did when we opened the camera. So when we opened the camera, we took a picture, and that will be the value. So let's go back to the choose from gallery. So we've done that for the take photo. Now choose from gallery follows the same workflow. Go to native mobile, and then here in the native mobile, you go to open camera library. So opening camera library at this point helps you to pick a photo. So if you pick a photo, you could choose to also make the file private when it's uploaded. And then next thing we want to do here is rather set state. So we set state of an element, this element, temporary photo, and we're picking the result of our last step. So whatever you have there, all right? So now that sets up everything as it should be. So hopefully everything works out as we planned, all right? So now that this is set this way, the final thing to do would be to save what we already have, all right? So let's click on this and say edit workflow. Now for this edit workflow, I want to delete this because, we don't need this. So we delete this. So let's go back, go here and add workflow. The workflow that was there was from what we duplicated from the auth. So what we want to do is make changes to current user. Make changes to current user. All right. So the first change we want to do would be in the name. So I want to change the name. So input name value trimmed. For the bio, multi-line bio value trimmed. All right. Now, after doing this, we also want to update that photo. So now notice that it's either we are putting back the photo that was there. That means maybe this user choose not to change their photo, and so we want to resubmit that photo, or we're submitting the new photo that has been entered. So here's how it's going to work. Let's go back to our workflow. So we don't want to update this the image here. We want to choose a new way to update it. So because there's some level of conditionals here that need to run depending on if this one is empty or this one is not empty. Okay, so let's also make changes to thing again, this current user. This time around we are picking profile image, and then we want to take this current users the current user's profile image and update it. Now this looks nice, but it wouldn't make sense because if you are not updating this image, there's no need to run this workflow, right? So great. So what we need to do would be only to focus on the update user info, this temp image. All right. Now, why are we doing this? There will be no need to start updating what did not change. All right. So what it means is only when this updates user info is not empty. All right. So what it does is to update this to the name and the bio. Now, if this image changes, then it updates. If not, there will be no need. So we assume that at the point whereby a user decides to upload a new image into the state, that means that the user wants to change that image. So as long as that image is not empty, then we can update it. Now, the only thing you can check is, okay, how about if a user uploads an image and wants to, you know, retain their former image, right? So for them to do that, they'll need to empty what's the name, they'll need to empty the state. All right, so all you need to do is probably just add another button that will say clear photo, something like that. So we could just add that below. It could just be a button down here. All right, I think it should actually be outside. Let's see where we can add it. All right, so we could add it between. So this is not the best of aesthetics, but I just want to make sure that this works and you can see it. So I wouldn't want this. So outline, dark, destructive. Okay, this is better. So we can say something like clear photo, clear photo. Clear upload, something like that. Uploaded photo, okay, something like this. And then we can just add a workflow saying, hey, set state of this item, and which item are we setting? It is this temporary one, and we're setting it to empty so that it clears off, something like that. So that will make sure that that's working properly. However, there's some things we did not do, which I'm sure is throwing up this error. Now notice that it's telling us that group name, we should remember to fill this out in the conditional state. So let's make sure we get rid of this because we needed to change this since we are not conditionally showing this. So let's delete this. And for the bio, we are doing the same thing. Let's remove this. Now we need to set permissions to be able to use the take photo and the choose from gallery functionalities. So for us to do this, we need to go to settings. So let's go to settings. So you see it here. It's telling us to, hey, either we turn it on or we'll go set up the permission. All right, so let's just go set the permission. Come down here to native, okay, device permission rather. So when you come here, you can choose to turn on camera access. So turn on camera access, one. You can choose to edit permission language, by the way. You can also turn on this one, photo library access, like that. All right, so this actually helps you to get rid of all of this. All right, so let's go back here and turn the rest on too. We can turn all of them on so that we don't have to. So this is for microphone, and this one is for location. So we can just turn all of them on so that we can use them. All right, so now we have no errors. It is time to test what we've done so far. Right now, you have to test this on the phone and not here on the computer. If you try testing here, it's not gonna work. So it will, when you click on take photo, it will bring out a pop-up for you to select. I guess this is connected to my phone because this is showing my phone gallery. So I didn't want this to show my phone gallery. Okay. Anyways, let's just go test this on the phone. All right. All right. Something we actually forgot to do would be to make sure that we connected all the buttons in the settings. So let's go back to the settings page. All right. And here in the settings page, the update info, want it to go to view and make it a modal, and you need to be update info. So let me move this, update user info. Okay, and same thing for this credential one. So go to view, update user credential, like that. Let it be a modal. Now let's go back to our update user info. Something I think we forgot here in the updates. Once you are done, I want you to just go back to previous mobile view. So I'll just close the modal. Okay. So now let's go back and test out. All right. Let's relaunch. Login. Login. All right. So go to settings and update info. So here in the update info, we can just take a photo. And now it's asking us to allow. It's saying that BubbleGo is asking, that's because the actual app that's running underneath is BubbleGo. But when you go live, it will be your application asking, because that will be the mobile app. So allow, and we can say allow full access, like that. And of course, it's showing my keyboard because that's what I'm showing. All right. We can take a photo and say use photo, like that. So I will say use photo. It should show here in the preview. All right. So let's see what happens. There's no loading state. So okay. Okay. Good. So that took a while, but it's there. It has shown. All right. And then we can also choose from gallery. So from gallery, pick something. All right. So we need to add a loading state so that when it is trying to load up image, maybe from the camera or from anywhere, it's able to show. And then let's click on clear upload. So clear upload, and you see it's gone, so that we are sure of what we are uploading. So once again, let's pick like this. Make sure it's uploading. So now that it's uploading, I just noticed that something we did is we are not showing the existing username. So, but I will just overwrite it here, and we'll do that correction when we go back to the computer. So I will just say Njoku plenty, something like this. Okay. And then here in the bio, we just say great guy or great tutor. If I spell that correctly, great tutor, like that. And then let's click on updates, and notice that my name has changed and the profile image has also changed, right? So great. And I don't think we've used this logout before. Here on the mobile application, but that's fine. Let's do the update credentials. So you see the update credentials come with my email. You could choose to change this email to something else. So let's try it out. So Ebere Njoku. It's quite long, but Njoku is for test purpose. All right. The old password. Let's enter the old password, like that, and then let's enter a new password. Okay. So what would the new password be? 11111. So we'll just do 111 down there. All right. So let's try updating. So update, and this should sign me out. The account has been successfully updated. Great. And this should sign me out. That is what we told it to do. Okay. So okay, it's actually logged me out because I can't see my name here anymore. But for some reason, so where we had a mistake was after logging out, we didn't tell it to navigate us back to the home page. So we'll fix this. So two things we are going to fix. One is in updating the info, we need to show the name. And then when we are done updating the credential, we need to be navigated back to the home. So let's go back to our computer and fix this. All right, welcome back. So let's go to update credential. Now here, after logging out, we're supposed to go to view, and the view we're supposed to go to is home, right? and then destroy everything on the stack. Or we could choose to, since the person is just updating their credential, maybe they still want to stay around, we might just move them to the authentication page and still destroy everything on the stack so that they don't have to go back. All right. When we go to the settings and check out our logout button, so this is our logout button. That's exactly what we did here. Then the other thing would be in the update user info. So let's go back here and make sure that we fill up the initial content. So come here, check it out. And we didn't pass it down the user, but hey, what we are checking out is the current user's name. All right. And here in the bio, current user's bio. All right, great. So if we check this again, this should be working just fine. All right, so we'll try this out again. All right, so let's check out our phone. I initially changed my email, so all this should have changed. .com. Okay, so login. It should work. Great, so that's working. We'll go to settings, and when we go to user info, so it's showing us the name as it should be. And then let's go to update credentials. So let's change this credential back to what it was, and then put in the old password. Okay. And then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay. And update it. This should work perfectly. So great. It locks the user out and moves us back to the authentication page, where we can now choose to log in with the new credentials, Gmail, like this. And here we are logged in. All right. And then, all right. So with that, we've been able to complete everything we planned. So here is the tab. We did the settings page, we did the logout, we did the user info and photo, the user credential, everything that we planned to do, and our application is working just as it should be. So what else have we not covered? I don't think there's any other thing. So I think we need to go check out this one, which is build a tax app with authentication. So thank you very much for watching this video. I hope this video you found it very helpful. If there's a topic you want me to cover specifically, you can leave a comment and let me look into it and see how we can cover it for you. And if you would like us to work together on a project, please let me know. You can contact me via email or via LinkedIn. Here is everything we've been able to cover. We've been able to look at view, and we're able to see that view comes in different types. Here we have the tab view. We were able to show the scrollable, the non-scrollable, the vertical list, and the section listing. We showed the signing up, signing out. A lot of things that are here in the documentation have been covered. The list, the multiple lists or section lists, we showed that. Vertical list here, section list. We showed that. We didn't cover the horizontal list, of course. Here's the web view, and that is the web view would be for people that want to maybe embed something from the web, but that will have to be from that particular project web view. And here is the input and forms. We covered almost everything you can see here. And then we didn't touch anything on the mobile reusable, but it's not so different from the web reusable. In case you have any question, you could just send me a DM like that. So thank you very much for watching. It's been a great tutorial so far. I'll see you on the next one.